Brutal twist, janitor aids struggling woman, don't miss the hidden billionaire reveal at 3 a.m. The clock struck 3 as shadows danced on the empty halls of Riverview Mall. The fluorescent lights flickered ominously, illuminating a lone janitor mopping up spilled soda and secrets. Underneath the grime was something uncanny, whispers of fate intertwined with chance. People had long since left, yet the air pulsed with unanswered questions and possibilities. It was just another night, or so it seemed as the janitor scrubbed. A piercing cry echoed through the corridor, breaking the silence like glass shattering. He froze. Was it real? The kind of cry that makes your spine tingle and your heart race. It came from the darkened corner of the mall, where the dying glow of neon signs barely reached. Fear knotted in his stomach. Who could it be? Moments later, a figure staggered into view. A woman, breathless and wide-eyed, hair disheveled and shirt torn. She looked like she had run from a nightmare. The janitor's heart raced. What could she have seen? What terror had chased her here? He felt a tightness in his chest. Should he help her? The nagging voice of self-preservation urged him to turn away. Then she spoke, her voice shaky, barely above a whisper. "They're coming for me." The urgency turned the air thick. He caught her gaze, wild and desperate. Just as he was about to respond, shadows flickered at the edge of his vision. Something, or someone, moved behind the storefront windows, watching. The janitor's pulse quickened as adrenaline surged through him. Suddenly, electric gusts of wind swept through, rustling the discarded flyers on the floor. The moment felt surreal, time stretching and bending around them. Suddenly, the weight of his broom felt heavier than ever, like a sword against darkness. He swallowed hard, feeling the words ache in his throat. "Who's coming?" But before she could answer, a loud bang echoed through the emptiness, startling them both. Glass shattered, and a hand emerged, black leather, sleek and intimidating, reaching to the woman. The janitor stepped forward, trembling. "Get away from her." And in that vulnerable moment, he felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. There was more at play here. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The woman's eyes went wide, pleading with him. "You don't understand. They'll do anything to find me. He's not just a man, he's a monster." She glanced around frantically, searching for an escape. The janitor's heart raced, an electric mix of fear and determination coursing through him. He had never imagined a twisted fate would land him here, in the heart of this terrifying revelation. But there was something else, a spark of recognition that flashed in his mind. Could this woman somehow unlock secrets he had kept buried? What if she wasn't just a frightened stranger but a link to something much greater? A sudden movement behind her caught his eye. The figure was nearer now, shadow cloaked beneath the haunting glow of strobing lights. A moment's hesitation could mean danger. The janitor gripped his mop like a shield, ready to protect her. "We need to move." Time was running out, and the answers lay just beyond their grasp. Would they outrun the nightmare, or would the dark consume them both? His heart thundered in his chest as he took in the woman's wild expression. It was raw fear, palpable and contagious. The janitor could feel the adrenaline pulsing through his veins. Without thinking, he thrust his mop forward like a spear, pointing it at the figure lurking in the shadows. "Who are you?" he shouted, his voice echoing off the empty walls, a desperate challenge against the encroaching darkness. The gloved hand hesitated, then pulled back momentarily. But the figure didn't retreat. Instead, a low, sinister laugh emerged from the shadows. It was chilling, void of humanity. The janitor's hands trembled as he tightened his grip. Such bravery or foolishness, the voice taunted, dripping with contempt. You don't even know what you're meddling with. The woman beside him gasped, drawing closer, her breath hitching. We have to run. Before she could finish, the darkness shifted, and the figure stepped into the flickering light. The janitor's breath caught in his throat as he recognized the man's face, cruelly handsome and entirely sinister. This wasn't just a stranger, this was someone who held power, someone who could snuff out lives like candles. You shouldn't have gotten involved, the man said, his eyes glimmering with a predatory gleam. Now you'll both pay the price. The woman gasped, fear radiating off her. No, please. I didn't mean to. I thought I was free. Her voice broke, and tears glistened in her eyes. The janitor felt a surge of protectiveness, but doubt crept in. He was just a janitor, armed with nothing but a mop, facing off against a living nightmare. Free? The man chuckled darkly. There's no freedom from me. I control everything here. As he spoke, a flicker of understanding hit the janitor like a freight train. This was bigger than he had imagined. It was not just a pale figure in a mall, there was a secret beneath the surface, something the woman had stumbled upon, something that could shake the very foundations of their world. He looked at the woman, deep into her terrified eyes, and made a choice. We're not afraid of you. He shouted, channeling his fear into defiance. You can't have her. The man smiled again, but the darkness deepened around him, a shroud that thickened with every second. Oh, you will be soon. The janitor pulled the woman behind him, feeling an unfamiliar surge of strength. He turned, desperately scanning for an exit, any way out of this hellish confrontation. The entrance to the mall was a grim beacon in the distance, but the way felt barred, the shadows closing in despite the flickering light. We can't go out there. She cried, her voice rising, panic seeping through. He'll find us. A rush of wind howled through the mall, almost whispering threats as it swept down the corridor. The lights flickered violently, generating a strobe effect that disoriented them. The janitor's heart pounded louder than the chaos around them. Then we'll have to hide. Find somewhere he can't reach us. Aren't you a little late for that? Came the man's smooth, mocking voice. With a swift motion, he pointed a finger at them, and shadows danced violently, closing off their escape. The janitor scanned the area, desperation clawing at him, until his gaze landed on a maintenance door to the left. There! He yelled, and grasped the woman's wrist, pulling her toward it. But before they could reach safety, the room seemed to pulsate, the very ground shuddered as the figure charged after them, his presence darkening the air. Rounding the corner, they burst through the door and crashed into the supply room. It was cramped, darkness pressing in on them, yet it gave them a moment's pause. The janitor held his breath, his heart pounding in his ears, as the thud of heavy steps echoed deeper into the mall. Why did I have to get involved? He muttered, doubting his courage. They were trapped, and the monster was hunting them. Then, with terrifying clarity, the woman spoke again. You need to know the truth, more than you think. Before she could continue, the door rattled ominously, sending chills down his spine. Was it too late? Would they understand too late what this terrifying web truly entailed? They had no idea the worst was yet to come. The door trembled under the weight of something heavy outside, the sound echoing like a death knell in the confined space. The janitor's breath caught in his throat, and he pressed his back against the cold metal shelves, almost hoping to meld into them. The woman was shaking beside him, her eyes wide with terror as she scanned the dark corners of the room. Please, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath, if he finds us. A chilling laugh resonated through the wall. It was the man. You think you can hide from me? I'll find you, even in your nightmares. The janitor clenched the mop tighter, glancing at the woman. What did you mean by he's more than you think? What is he? Her gaze flickered to him, a mix of fear and urgency in her eyes. He's not just a man. He's connected, powerful, part of something, sinister. I uncovered something I shouldn't have, something that could tear his world apart. She glanced back at the door, and the janitor felt the adrenaline curl in his gut, heating his blood. What did you uncover? He pressed, needing to understand what darkness they were up against. I found documents, plans for operations that could turn people into pawns, she said, her voice trembling. He was using the mall as a front, hiding in plain sight. The realization washed over the janitor like ice water. This man wasn't just a shadow, he was a puppet master, and they were caught in his strings. The gnawing doubt twisted tighter in his stomach, but the woman needed him to be strong, needed him to act. A deafening crash rocked the door, slamming against the frame. Dust poured from the ceiling, and the janitor felt his heart leap. We can't stay here. We have to move. Oh God, he's here. She pressed her back against the wall, her eyes darting wildly. The door jolted again, more urgent now. The janitor's mind raced. He needed a plan, any plan. There. He pointed to a vent opening high on the wall, barely visible in the darkness. If we can find a way up there, we might escape. She stared at the vent, then at him, doubt etched across her face. What if he gets in before we do? The sound of ripping metal followed by a primal roar sent his heart racing. We won't wait to find out. The janitor dropped the mop and sprang toward the shelves, scrambling to climb. His fingers slipped on the cold metal, but desperation lent him strength. He boosted himself with a lurch, reaching for the edge of the vent. Help me! She cried, frantically looking at the door where cracks appeared, shadows crawling over the threshold. That he extended his hand as she finally leaped, fingers grasping his wrist. With a grunt, he pulled her up, their bodies colliding against the vent frame. Together, they scrambled into the darkness, sliding painfully through the cramped tunnel, the walls cool against their hot skin. But just as they settled into the vent, the door burst open, and light poured into the supply room. The man stood there, framed by the chaos like a vengeful deity. You can't escape me. He shouted, his voice reverberating through the air, a ripple of dread that hung in the silence. The vent trembled as they held their breath, the ominous presence of their pursuer vibrating through the air. The janitor glanced at the woman, desperate resolve in her eyes. Do you trust me? He whispered urgently. With my life, she replied. That in that moment of shared determination, the janitor felt fear crystallize into a fierce urge to fight. He wasn't just a janitor anymore, he was their only chance at hope, standing against the looming darkness. But as they crawled deeper into the vent, a chilling thought crossed his mind. What if the truth about the man was more horrifying than they could imagine? And then, from above, a scraping sound lifted the hairs on the back of his neck. A sinister realization dawned. He wasn't the only one seeking them. What had he just unleashed? Run! He gasped, urgency clawing at his throat. They had merely shifted the danger, and the predator was still on their trail. But what would happen when they finally faced the real monster waiting in the dark? The dim light of the vent flickered as the janitor and the woman crawled deeper into the shadows, panic coursing through their veins. Heart pounding, he pressed forward, the cold metal grating under his palms. The scrape from above grew louder, a relentless reminder that their escape might soon be cut off. Faster! He hissed, each breath feeling sharper, as if the air in the tunnel was turning to ice. He glanced back at her, fear etched across her face. We need to keep moving. He's only going to get closer. Do you think he knows where we are? She whispered, her voice trembling with each word. I don't know. But I'm betting he is smart enough to figure it out. Just keep going. The woman's hands shook as they crawled through the narrow vent. Her mind raced, but with each twist and turn, dread enveloped her. She wasn't just running from a man, she felt as if the very walls were closing in, suffocating her in terror. Suddenly, the vent groaned, and the noise from above intensified. A thud resonated, echoing against the metal walls, and she stopped, feeling a chill run down her spine. What was that? Just keep moving. he urged again, glancing back anxiously. They pushed forward, the passage twisting and narrowing, the air stifling. The light ahead grew dimmer, and for a moment, it felt like an illusion, a false promise of safety. Just then, a sharp clang rang out from the entrance they had clawed through, and the janitor froze. "Please tell me that wasn't what I think it was," he muttered. The woman's eyes widened, and they exchanged a glance filled with dread. Then, without warning, a shadow loomed just outside their vent. Silhouetted against the faint light, the man's face twisted into a sadistic grin. "Did you think you could escape me?" His voice was a razor, slicing through the tense silence. The janitor gulped, the adrenaline coursing through his limbs, suddenly aware that they might not make it out alive. "What do we do now?" she stammered. He peered out, trying to assess the situation. "We need to get to the end of this tunnel. It has to lead somewhere. We can't stay here." With a newfound determination, they resumed their crawl, urgency propelling them forward. But the presence above didn't wane, the weight of it following like a specter. He could almost feel its breath on his neck, hot and taunting. As they pressed on, the air grew thinner, and they reached a fork in the vent. The right path was faintly lit, while the left descended into darkness. "Which way?" she gasped, glancing back worriedly. "Right," he shouted, with hope anchoring his heart. The light meant there was a way out. But as they detoured, the cough of metal beneath their weight signaled that the man was close, and they were running out of time. The vent began to shake, vibrations rippling through it. The janitor tightened his grip, moving faster as panic surged in the pit of his stomach. "Come on!" Suddenly, a grating sound pierced the air above them, and the man's chilling laughter echoed through the shaft. "I'll get you, both of you. You can't hide the truth." The janitor's chest tightened. "What truth?" A glimmer of fear sparkled in the woman's eyes, but resolute courage surged within him. Just as they reached the end of the right tunnel, the tremors intensified. "Hold on!" he cried out. The vent opened up into a small maintenance room. They tumbled out, gasping for breath. But the oppressive darkness was still there, the sense of being hunted thickening the air. "What now?" she panted, looking around frantically. He scanned the room, his mind racing. They needed a weapon, a way to fight back. But all he could see were supplies, brooms, a vacuum. Suddenly, his eyes caught a glint, a toolbox tucked beneath a shelf. "Over there." They dashed toward it, the sound of heavy footsteps behind them growing louder, drowning out their pounding hearts. The door was still an option, a flimsy barrier that wouldn't hold for long. Just as they reached the toolbox, the door rattled violently, and the janitor's breath quickened. "We need to be ready," he whispered, grabbing the toolbox's lid and flinging it open. But just then, a smirk bloomed on the woman's face, an unexpected shift in her demeanor. "Let him come. We're not what he thinks we are. Not by a long shot." The janitor's pulse quickened at her words. What did she mean? Before he could ask, the door burst open, and there stood the man, fury etched into his features, poised to strike. "What have you unleashed?" he seethed, eyes narrowing on the woman. And as the tension hung in the air, a shocking realization washed over the janitor. This wasn't just about hiding anymore. The truth was about to expose something far darker than he ever imagined. What was the woman hiding? The air crackled with tension, the janitor's heart pounding as the man towered before them, a living nightmare. He felt trapped. The beams of the overhead lights flickered, moments away from extinguishing completely, leaving them in a heart-stopping darkness where anything could happen. What did she unleash? He felt his throat constrict as those words echoed in his mind, threatening to choke him. The woman stepped closer to the man, her expression fierce, brave even. "You think you know me? You don't have a clue." Her voice was steady, cutting through the fear that gripped him. The janitor's mouth went dry. Was she out of her mind? "You think you're the hunter here?" she continued, taking another step toward him. "You want the truth. All you've done is painted a target on your back. The man's brows furrowed, confusion mingling with rage. What are you talking about? She smirked again, but it felt like ice. I'm not just some helpless woman. You've been after me for a long time. And I've had enough. The janitor could hardly breathe. What had he gotten tangled in? From the toolbox, he lifted a flathead screwdriver, fingers trembling. This won't hold him for long, he thought, feeling absurdly vulnerable. But the woman seemed unfazed by the looming threat, emboldened in the face of danger. Get ready, just in case, she whispered to him, her eyes narrowing on the man. I know you're strong, but you're also overconfident. Before he could question her further, she turned her attention back to the man. You're arrogant. You think you've won this game, that you control everything. Game? Is that what you think this is? He stepped closer, his expression twisting into a sneer. What you call a game is real life for people like me. The man extended his hand, almost as if he were welcoming the dark shadows that clung to him like a cloak. The janitor flinched, tightening his hold on the screwdriver. Every instinct screamed to back away, to flee. But something kept him rooted in place, and then, without warning, the woman lunged. In one swift motion, she slammed her palm into the man's chest, pushing him back. Surprised, he stumbled. You think you can threaten me? Suddenly, the commotion from above ceased. An eerie quiet enveloped the room as if the entire world were holding its breath. The only sound left was their labored breathing, punctuated by the ever-growing tension knitted tightly around them. Enough with the games. He roared, anger igniting in his eyes. You need to listen to me. The janitor felt an electric charge fizz through the air as she replied, No, you listen. Just as the grip between them threatened to pop like an overinflated balloon, the toolbox fell from the janitor's grasp, clattering on the floor. In that moment, the woman paused, her gaze slipping away from the man, looking back at him, something almost desperate circling in her eyes. Get ready. She urged as the tension snapped like a string. The janitor felt a chill run down his spine. His mind raced with questions. What was she hiding? What did the man know? And suddenly, it fell into place, a key, a match ignited in his memory. You're not just continuing this, you've been on the run from him. Yes, she confirmed, her voice barely above a whisper. But before they could process another heartbeat, the man lunged forward. The janitor knew he had to act fast. He raised the screwdriver, adrenaline pumping, ready to defend her no matter the cost, and then, crashing into the room, the shadows morphed, revealing everything he had never anticipated. The door slung shut behind them, and a chilling realization dawned: this was only the beginning. What new horror awaited them as the lights flickered ominously above? The man's lunge came like a flash of lightning, quick and furious. The janitor's heart raced, fear flooding him as he swung the screwdriver, a desperate attempt to keep the woman safe. Time warped. The sound of metal cutting through the air reverberated in the small room. Just as the blade grazed the man's side, he twisted away, his eyes glinting with fury. You shouldn't have done that. He snarled, blood trickling from the shallow cut, but she was quicker. With a swift pivot, she drove her knee into his stomach, the force knocking him off balance again. Gasping, the man stumbled back, rage mingling with shock as he struggled to regain his footing. The janitor could hardly believe it, she was stronger than he thought. Still, it didn't shield him from the growing dread spiraling within him. What if they couldn't contain this monster? A pressing weight settled in his chest, squeezing him tighter, urging him to run. Stay close. She bellowed over the chaos, her gaze darting toward the corner of the room where a potential escape route lay, an old window, partially ajar and long forgotten. Was there really time? The janitor's grip tightened around the screwdriver, a battle line drawn in his mind. We need to get out. He shouted, his throat dry from fear. The man caught his breath, eyes narrowing as he regained his composure. You think this is the end? You have no idea what you're messing with. He straightened up, spitting blood to the floor, the menace radiating off him palpable. The air shifted. The janitor could feel the tension thicken like smoke, wrapping around them, suffocating his thoughts. They were outnumbered, outmatched, and he knew it deep down. "Right now, it's just the three of us," she said, her voice steadying as she glanced at the janitor. "But there are more that follow him. And if we don't stop this now, we'll never be free." "What do you mean?" he stammered, glancing nervously between her and the man still licking his wounds, an animal cornered but ready to fight. "You're in way over your head," the man grinned, teeth glimmering, sinister and wrong. "This isn't just me, sweetheart. You've unleashed something bigger than yourself." The word sent shivers racing down the janitor's spine. Something bigger. What had she truly gotten them into? Before he could ask, the man charged again. When the janitor instinctively raised the screwdriver, the woman dashed forward. She grabbed the janitor's arm, yanking him aside just in time. "Move!" she yelled, adrenaline saturating her voice. The trio barreled toward the window, each pulse of heartbeats matching their urgent footsteps. The man lunged again, but she intercepted him, hammering a fist into his jaw. This time, the impact sent him sprawling into a nearby shelving unit. Books and tools spilled across the floor in a jumbled mess as he howled in frustration. "Get to the window," she commanded, propelling the janitor forward with a firm shove. But he hesitated. "What about you?" he called back, worry clawing at his insides. "Just go. I'll hold him off." The janitor turned, uncertainty flooding his thoughts. Could he leave her? Would she actually be able to fend him off? "Do you really think you can win this fight?" The man sneered as he pulled himself up, shaking off the dust and fury. "I won't go down without a fight," she shouted defiantly, and the determination in her eyes flared, giving the janitor hope amid the choking gloom. With a final glance back, he made his decision. He dove toward the window, ignoring the shaking in his knees, ready to escape into the unknown night. Then, a deafening sound echoed from behind them. A sudden crash, like thunder, rattled the walls. Something dark and massive surged forward, closing their only way out. "What was that?" he yelled, panic rising like bile in his throat. The woman stared wide-eyed toward the source, and as the dust settled, the truth began to hit him. They had unleashed something terrible, and it was coming for them. Could they still escape? Or was this the moment everything shifted forever? The chaos slammed into them like a tidal wave. Dust hung in the air, illuminated by the flickering overhead light, casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance with malevolent intent. The janitor's heart drummed wildly against his chest. He could feel the cold sweat trickling down his spine as he turned. "What is that?" he shouted again, desperation clawing at his throat. The woman didn't answer. Eyes fixed wide, she raised her hands defensively, ready to confront whatever horror was emerging from the darkness. The sound grew louder, a guttural growl that curled around them, vibrating through the floor like a sinister whisper. Suddenly, a hulking figure emerged from the shadows, massive, shadowy, and undeniably monstrous. The dim light caught glints of what looked like sharp claws, scraping against the concrete floor. The janitor's breath hitched. The creature's breath was foul, thick, and visceral, a potent mix of something wicked. "It's wrong!" he exclaimed, instinctively taking a step back. He ran a shaking hand through his hair, thoughts scrambling. What did we unleash? "Focus!" the woman snapped, grounding him. "We have to fight or we'll get devoured." Her voice pierced through the fear, igniting a flicker of resolve inside him. He gripped the screwdriver tighter, its metal cold against his palm. The growl echoed through the air again, a warning. The man they thought they had subdued let out a low, throaty laugh filled with malice. "Oh, you have no idea," he said, standing unharmed behind the wild creature that loomed. "The real game is just beginning. This is only a taste of what is to come." Fear surged through the janitor. "What do you want from us?" The woman stepped forward, her defiance rising. We won to let you control us. We didn't unleash this monster, you did. A flash of anger crossed the man's face. You're right, sweetheart. But now it's too late. It's already hungry for blood. The creature lunged, crossing the space between them faster than the eye could follow. Panic gripped the janitor. He flinched, preparing to scream, but the woman didn't waver. She dove forward, thrusting herself at the creature, like a wildcat protecting her young. No. He shouted. The contact was intense. She landed a blow to the creature's jaw, rocketing it backward momentarily, but it instantly recovered, eyes burning with fury. The janitor's instincts told him to run, but the weight of the moment froze him in place. The woman fought fiercely, using all her might to keep it at bay, but her energy waned as the beast advanced again, snapping its dreadful teeth. Get behind me! She yelled, her voice strained yet full of bravado. As the janitor took a step back, overwhelmed by the chaos unfolding before him, the full weight of realization hit him. They were surrounded by dangers they couldn't fully understand, both human and beast. Stick together! He yelled, trying to rally the scattered remnants of his courage. But uncertainty gnawed at him. Would they stand a chance against such a nightmare? He glanced back at the escape route, the window, still ajar but now riddled with shadows from the creature and the man. Now! She cried suddenly, catching the janitor's gaze. We have to push through. Just as he took a step forward, the man grinned wickedly. It won't be so easy. You don't know what's waiting on the other side. A flicker of doubt raced through the janitor. What did that mean? Did they have any allies out there, or had they merely managed to walk into a greater trap? In that heartbeat of hesitation hung their fate, and the shadows whispered through the air, closing in like a noose. Would they fight, or would they fall victim to the darkness lurking just beyond reach? With one final roar from the creature, promising terror more profound than he could fathom, the janitor knew they had mere seconds to decide. But could they trust each other in this darkness? Was it too late to turn back? The roar of the creature resonated in the confined space, shaking the walls around them. The janitor's heart hammered in his chest, the fear swirling thicker than the dust cloud engulfing them. He felt paralyzed, teetering on the edge of flight or fight, torn between the instinct to flee and the urge to join the woman in her desperate stand. Go! The woman shouted again, her voice breaking through his paralysis. We can't let it pin us down. In that moment, something inside him clicked. He recalled every late-night shift spent alone, every moment he had imagined a purpose beyond mopping the floors. Now was that moment. He wasn't just a janitor anymore. He was a fighter. Without waiting for a second thought, he lunged forward, driving the screwdriver toward the beast. The metal plunged into the creature's shoulder, leaving a deep mark. It let out a high-pitched shriek, surprised by the sudden pain. Keep hitting it. The woman ordered, her fists clenched, eyes aflame with determination. They were pushing back, but fear still lurked in the corners of his mind. How long could they fend it off? The man behind the creature laughed again, the sound full of amusement. You think you stand a chance? You're playing with something far beyond your comprehension. With a swift motion, the creature swept its tail, catching the woman off guard. The hit sent her crashing against the wall, and a choked gasp escaped her lips. The janitor's stomach dropped. No. She shook her head, already trying to rise. I'm fine. Just, keep it busy. Breathing hard, he positioned himself between the beast and the woman. He felt a surge of fierce protectiveness. It ignited a primal instinct deep within. I want to let it have you. His voice rasped through his dry throat. He hurled the screwdriver again, this time aiming for the creature's eyes. It skittered harmlessly off the beast's thick hide, but it was enough to distract it. Sensing the portal behind them was their only way out, he stole a glance at the window. It was still ajar, but the shadows were shifting ominously. The beast refocused on him, its eyes blazing with fury. Somehow, a chill ran along his neck. It felt smarter now, not just a mindless monster. "I won't let you hurt her," he screamed, adrenaline fueling him as he ducked, narrowly avoiding the creature's snapping jaws. Think, he muttered to himself, scanning the room. They needed a weapon, something bigger. Over there. The woman pointed weakly to the far side of the room. An old metal pipe lay forgotten in the corner. Without hesitating, he dashed for it, adrenaline pushing through the pain of fear and doubt. "Move!" he yelled back to her, gripping the pipe tightly. It felt heavy yet reassuring, like a lifeline. She staggered to her feet, determination igniting again as she faced the creature. "Let us do this." Together, they swung the pipe with all their strength. It struck the beast squarely, and it howled in outrage, but it was still in the fight. Blood oozed from its wounds, a dark stain against the concrete. But for every strike they landed, another blow from the creature knocked them back. They had to end this, but how? Now. The window. The janitor shouted frantically. They maneuvered, desperate but aware of the beast's predatory instinct clawing at their backs. The creature lunged again, swiping powerfully. The janitor barely sidestepped in time. "Why won't it just die?" he spat, panic creeping back in. "Because it wants us," the woman answered breathlessly. Her gaze flicked toward the man, who watched them with a cold, calculating smile. "This is just the beginning. It won't stop until it gets what it came for." The realization sent a chill through him, making his skin prickle. What was the creature after? What had they unleashed? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the corner, sending debris flying. A figure appeared, silhouetted against the sparking lights, casting an even darker shadow in the already dreary room. The janitor held his breath. What now? Would this newcomer be friend or foe? Or was it too late for all of them? In that moment, the icy grip of dread clawed at his heart. As the figure stepped forward, the creature screeched in eager anticipation, and he felt the shudder of their impending doom. Did they stand a chance against this new threat, or had they simply plunged deeper into a nightmare? The figure emerged from the shadows, a tall silhouette draped in dark clothing with a hood shadowing its face. The air thickened with tension, the creature's screeches blending with the pounding of the janitor's heart. He stood frozen, pipe raised, prepared to defend the woman, but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Stand down," the figure commanded, its voice smooth yet commanding. "Who are you?" The janitor barked, his grip tightening around the pipe. The hooded figure took a step forward, gestures fluid and calm. "I'm here to help. But you have to trust me." Another roar from the creature rattled the janitor's resolve. The woman's breath hitched beside him, a quick glance revealing the fear radiating from her eyes. "Did you bring that thing with you?" she accused, staggering a bit as she steadied herself. "No," the figure said firmly, "but it senses your fear, your desperation. We can't let it take that away." The creature shifted, muscles tensing as it honed in on this new threat. Its eyes narrowed with malicious intent, and it prepared to leap. The moment stretched into eternity as the janitor weighed the danger of the creature against the stranger's promise of aid. "Trust me," the figure repeated. With a scream, the janitor hurled the pipe at the creature, hoping to buy them a few precious seconds. It struck with a clang, causing the monster to recoil momentarily, its attention diverted once more. "Now!" the figure shouted, dashing to the nearest wall. It grabbed a rolled-up tarp, unfurling it in an instant to reveal a series of gadgets and what looked like highly advanced weapons. The janitor's mouth hung open. "What are you?" "Just grab something. We have no time." The woman rushed forward, snatching up a sleek device that looked like a large, futuristic gun. The janitor just stood there, torn between disbelief and the weight of reality pressing down around them. As the creature regained its footing, the janitor finally moved, panic shoving his hands into the tool belt and yanking out a handful of tools, a hammer, a wrench, and a couple of odd gadgets. Nothing felt sufficient, but time was ticking. Focus. The figure urged, turning back to face the beast with the gun aimed. When I fire, you both need to distract it. It's vulnerable from the sides. With a nod, they positioned themselves, hearts racing. The janitor glanced at the woman. She nodded, a silent agreement hanging in the air between them. On 3-1-2 a blood-curdling roar erupted as the creature lunged again, its gaping jaws ready to close around them. Now. The figure fired. A brilliant flash of light shot out, striking the creature. It howled, thrashing wildly, but when it turned, blood spattered across the floor, an unsettling homage to their connection with the fight. Keep it off balance. The janitor shouted, brandishing the hammer, and they rushed forward, circling the ferocious beast. As they attacked, confusion reigned. Each swing of the hammer connected, each shot from the device landed true, but the creature didn't relent. It was adapting. I can weaken it further, but we're running out of time. The figure shouted, sweat beading on its brow. You two need to make a decision: attack together or retreat. Just then, the creature turned its attention on the figure, eyes blazing like fire. It seemed to recognize the true threat. The janitor's gut twisted. Not you. Focus on us. The woman, gripping her odd weapon tightly, took aim once more, her breath hitching. What if this doesn't work? What is it really after? Before the figure could respond, the beast lunged for them again. A beat of silence fell between breaths, sweat mixing with adrenaline. With tension simmering and decisions hanging in the air, they prepared to strike back. Would their desperate alliance be enough to fend off the creature, or were they merely moments away from being its next meal? Together, they advanced, but as hope clawed at them, they couldn't shake the creeping doubt that something deeper loomed in the shadows of the fight. What was really at stake, and what hidden truths would force them to confront the darkest parts of themselves before it was all over? The creature roared again, a sound so loud it rattled the very foundations of the room. The janitor's heart raced as he tightened his grip on the hammer. The woman at his side aimed the futuristic gun with fierce determination. They had come too far to back down now. Get ready. The hooded figure shouted, facing the beast head-on. We need to strike all at once. With fear morphing into adrenaline, the janitor locked eyes with the woman, a shared understanding passing between them. This was their moment. On 3. The figure called, and the tension drew tight around them. 1, 2, 3. They charged forward. The janitor swung the hammer at the creature's exposed flank while the woman fired, her shot finding its mark. A blast of energy rippled through the air, hitting the creature and sending it stumbling, but it wasn't enough. The beast spun around, fury ignited in its eyes, ready to retaliate. Keep it distracted. The janitor yelled. He felt a surge of courage as he dashed to the side and swung the hammer again, striking it hard on its leg. The creature screeched, stumbling back. It was powerful, but they had each other, and together, they could do this. We can't let it regain its footing. The woman shouted, firing another round, sparks igniting around the creature's wounds. The janitor moved in sync with her, adjusting their strategy. Each swing of the hammer was fueled by fear, hope, everything that had brought them to this moment. They dodged and weaved, striking again and again, but the beast, in a fit of rage, turned toward them with renewed intensity. Its skin glimmered, shifting as if the shadows themselves were alive, coming together to defend their master. It lunged, and the janitor barely ducked in time, the sharp claws grazing his arm, leaving a trail of fire behind. Stay strong. We're almost there. The hooded figure yelled, intensity burning in their voice. The creature was starting to slow, but it was still a force of untamed fury. The janitor knew they needed an edge, the final blow that would see them through. Throw everything you have. Now. He screamed. The woman stepped up, raising her weapon. I'm going to amplify this shot. Cover me. She took a deep breath, sweat beading on her brow, and focused, channeling everything they had been through. The janitor leapt forward, hammer raised, ready to distract the creature. He swung wildly, giving her the precious moment she needed. With a blinding flash, supernatural energy erupted from the weapon in the woman's hands, striking the creature directly in the chest. It howled, echoing through the mall like the last wind before a storm, and staggered back. In that second of vulnerability, the janitor readied his hammer one last time. With a roar that drowned all other sound, he surged forward and swung down with everything he had left. Impact. The beast shrieked, the sound clawing at the janitor's ears. The ground shook, and as he pulled back, he felt a rush of relief mixed with adrenaline. Now. Finish it. The figure commanded, urging them forward. They moved in unison, the woman refocusing her aim. With one more shot from her weapon, a bright wave of light burst forth, engulfing the creature. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. The lights flickered, the air vibrated as if the very world held its breath, and then silence. Dust settled as the glow faded, leaving only the wreckage of what had been. The creature lay motionless, its power extinguished. For a moment, the janitor stood, gasping for breath, disbelief washing over him. They had done it. They had fought back the darkness. But a new tension wrapped around them when the hooded figure turned toward the janitor and the woman. "It's not over yet," they said, their voice low and serious. "What do you mean?" the janitor asked, fear creeping back into his heart. The figure stepped closer, their presence commanding. "You've only scratched the surface. The beast was a guardian, a facade to keep the greater threat at bay. And now they know you're here." The janitor's stomach dropped. "Who?" "Something worse." The figure's eyes glittered. With a mix of concern and urgency. "They're coming." A cold chill swept through the room. The janitor exchanged a glance with the woman, their hearts pounding as the weight of reality sank in. They were thrust into a much darker world than they could have ever imagined. "Together, we can prepare. We have to rally the others," the figure said, pulling back their hood to reveal a determined gaze. "What others?" the woman asked, her voice trailing off in disbelief. "What are we facing?" "Those who know the truth. We need to stand united because the real fight is just beginning." As the echoes of their battle lingered in the air, the janitor understood, they weren't just fighting shadows anymore. They had awakened something profound, something ancient and riddled with danger. But this time, they would face it as a team. With trust woven between them, they stepped toward the unknown, each foot heavy but their spirits ignited with a fierce determination. They were ready to take on whatever came next. But in that moment, one thing was clear, the story was far from over. If you want to join the journey ahead, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for more epic stories. And don't forget to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions, predictions, and theories about the ending. And for your friends who need to see this conclusion, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 of them. The next chapter of our adventure awaits.